What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Now it is range test time for the E-Ride Pro SS. If you guys are new to our channel, this is where we come to this 7-mile straight road and we do range tests on all these bikes. We do a sport mode range test, an eco mode range test. Alex ran sport mode yesterday because we only have one bike and one battery, so we had to go back and recharge. But in sport mode, we're gonna hold 50 miles an hour. In eco mode, we're gonna hold full throttle, which is about 27 miles an hour on our GPS. We're gonna track the miles, track the ride time, track the average speed. We're gonna see how the battery degrades as it goes down into lower percentages. We're also gonna be comparing our 72 42 amp hour Charge CycleWorks Talaria Sting battery to this one. So this battery is just slightly larger capacity and we wanna see how it compares. And we'll check in at 50% battery. So we're gonna hold it straight all the way till 50% battery. Then we'll stop and we'll do a little bit of a check-in recap, see how the batteries are comparing. And then we're gonna go all the way down to 0% essentially, or whenever this bike turns off, we will stop. Really quick, I need to clarify something about the E-Ride Pro SS. In our last video, we said this bike was $4,900 as we compared it to the price of a Talaria Sting R and a 79 bike Falcon M, which are two direct competitors. Now, as we did a little bit more research and we got a lot of comments, we realized that this bike, you have to pay for shipping, and depending on where you live, you also have to pay sales tax, which is normal. But when you live in California and you got to pay shipping and sales tax, this bike goes up to $5,700. So it is a bigger price gap than we initially thought. Now, if you don't live in California, you don't pay sales tax, with shipping, this bike is $5,250 in the rest of the states. The Talaria Sting, for reference, is $4,500 normally, no shipping. You do have to pay tax if you live in California as well, but not if you live anywhere else. So you're $4,500 out the door in most places. The Falcon M is $4,250 out the door, no shipping, no tax, with our discount code. So there is a pretty big difference between these three bikes that we've been comparing. So we want to keep that in mind because this bike is not as good a value as we initially thought it was. Still an incredible bike.
Okay, let's start this range test. You guys ready?
Here we go.
Go for it. There goes Lance. Reed will just follow right behind him. This is gonna be a long day.
All right, you guys, so I'm on the eco mode rep bike. Reed is following right behind me on the Charge CycleWorks 72 volt Talaria battery. He's just gonna hold the same speed I'm holding, so it'll be a super comparable test. Just kind of see how that battery performs in difference to this one. But really we're doing this test to be able to compare it to other stock bikes. As I mentioned before, we've done this test with the Talaria MX3, the Talaria Sting R, the Talaria XXX, and the RAR Mantis. And we're also going to be doing this test very soon on that 79 bike Falcon M.
Okay guys, I'm just starting out. I'm at 97% and holding about 50 to 51 miles an hour. I'm gonna do my very best to keep it at that 50 miles an hour mark so we can compare it to the other models. I'm really glad it has that smooth throttle and nice power curve because it's really easy to hold it at exactly 50 miles an hour. And we're not varying very much on our GPS.
As we start this test, I just want to add that even though this isn't an exact range test scenario that a lot of people will have, you know, holding eco mode forever and holding sport mode forever until the battery dies, this is the most accurate way for us to compare between other bike models. So even though you never ride like this, you never just hold full throttle, it's an easy way to compare, and so that's why we do it this way in this just dead straight road. It's about 7 miles. We're just going to run it back and forth, and it will be a great way to test how the bikes actually perform.
So far we're at 71% and we've done about 4.5 miles, so it's a little bit less than I was initially thinking, but we're gonna see how the rest of the battery holds up.
So this bike has a higher watt hour count than the Talaria Sting R, hence it should do better in a range test scenario as it's a larger capacity battery. So we'll have a full-on chart at the end of the video comparing this directly to all the other bikes we've tested to see how it stacks up. We are nearing 10 minutes into our test. We're holding 28 miles per hour on the display and about 26.3, 26 and a half on our GPS. Done 10 minutes, 4.4 miles at a max speed of 27.6, so we're kind of just right around that range. Reed is still following behind me. I don't think you guys can see him on the camera. We'll do another check-in a little later on. We are at 89% battery though to go 4.5 miles and 10 minutes. So
Okay guys, we're at 60%. As you guys know, we're gonna stop at 50%, take a break, see where we're at, and let the motor cool down.
All right guys, update for you. We are just about to tick over 10 miles. We are at 79% battery, still holding our same speed. Reed came up and said hi to us. He's chilling too. We're headed back this way now, and we're gonna be doing a lot more laps. I'm sure we'll be checking in with Alex in sport mode because he's probably already to 50% battery, and then even further based on how long we've been riding, 22.5 minutes. Sport mode dies pretty fast.
Okay, we hit 51%, getting close to 50. Okay, we're at 50%. I'm just coasting to a stop. I'm gonna give Lance a call. He'll roll up in the truck and we'll go from there.
Okay, we just caught up with Alex. He has done the first 50% of the battery. Let's see how far he's gone. So we got 10.5 miles at 14 minutes. Max speed was like 52. We're trying to hold it right about 50. So far that's honestly pretty dang comparable to some of the other models we've tested. Again, at the end of the video, we'll be directly comparing this to every other bike that we've tested. We're just gonna let this motor cool off a little bit longer. We just like to do that so we don't ruin anything running it pretty much at full power. But right now the motor's not feeling too hot, so I think it is handling this test just fine. It's also pretty cold today, which may affect the battery a little bit.
Yeah, you guys see the funky suit I'm wearing?
Okay, we're gonna hit that next half of the test. We'll catch you at the end. Another update coming at you. We are at 66% battery, still holding 26 miles an hour. We've done 16.2 miles, and we're at 37 minutes of ride time. So next checkup, I will see you guys at 50%. Me and Reed will stop. We'll go over how we've done so far.
Oh, we're draining pretty quick. We're at 44%, only gone about a mile since 50.
Okay guys, we just hit 50%. We're gonna stop, let the bike rest a minute, and then we'll keep going. All right, oh, feels good to stop. All right, you guys, we are at 50% battery on the E-Ride Pro SS. You can see 50% right there. We went 23.4 miles. Let's check our time. We did 53 minutes, 45 seconds. Our max speed was 27. Our average speed was 26.5 miles an hour. So kind of a pretty typical eco mode test. This is not as far as we were expecting, I'll be honest. We were expecting more like 25, 26, 27 miles on the first 50%. A totally stock Talaria Stingar in the exact test, same average speed, did 24.9 miles in the first 50%, so a mile and a half further. And our XXX also went further too. So we'll get into some more stats at the end of the video, but we're gonna keep carrying on. This bike is still right with me.
Hopefully when this bike gets below 30%, it does not slow down. On the Roar Mantis that we tried and did this range test on, when it hit 40%, it slowed it down to about 30 miles per hour in sport mode and then just went downhill from there. We're still holding that 50 miles per hour though.
Okay, I want to add just a quick little disclaimer and some information about this range test. So today it's the middle of winter, it's pretty cold. So this range test is not going to be a 100% direct comparison to our summer range test because batteries don't perform quite as well in the cold. Now we did everything we could to kind of mitigate this like discrepancy by keeping the batteries overnight in our house charging, so they were all warm, ready to go up to room temperature, and then we kept them in the truck all the way until the test started. So they were not sitting in the back of the truck getting cold on the way here. They started at about 70, 75 degrees. So that helped a ton. Also, when you use batteries, they do warm up. So we're thinking this is going to be pretty dang accurate. I'm sure it will be just slightly lower, but we did all we could to kind of make this as accurate as possible. That being said, I am quite surprised at how this battery is performing right now. It is not going as far as I would expect for the size of this battery. It is a decent chunk more capacity than the other models we've tested, and it just isn't going quite as far. So we'll have to see how it chalks up at the very end, see how it does.
Okay, we're at 35%. We've gone 13.6 miles and still going strong, holding 50 miles an hour.
Time for another update. We're at 35% battery, still holding a steady 26.5 miles an hour, 28 on the display, and we've been riding for an hour and 10 minutes, and I've gone 30 miles. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one.
I've noticed that I'm using a little bit more throttle to reach that 50 miles per hour, so we're definitely slowing down. Okay, hit 30%. Top speed that we're getting currently is 49.5. So we'll have to see how slow I end up as the battery drains. Okay guys, we just passed the 25% mark. We're holding a 42 miles per hour. Still pretty fast, but we've lost a lot of top speed. Oh, we hit 20% on here. Still holding that 40 miles per hour speed. I really want to know how far it's gonna go. Currently we're at 17 miles. We're definitely gonna make it past 20 miles, but not much further after that.
Quick update, we are at 20% battery. We're still doing 26.5 miles an hour, which is great. So we've been very consistent all the way to 20%. I suspect now our speed is gonna start to decrease as we continue to go. We're at 37.3 miles and an hour and 25 minutes of ride time. Okay, we'll catch you guys in the next checkup. I'll probably go to 10%.
Okay guys, just did a turnaround right there so we can head back. We have lost a lot of torque at this low end of the battery. I basically pinned it full throttle and we're just slowly climbing up. We are still going 37 miles an hour and climbing and are at 18%. Okay, here's Lance up here passing him for the last time. 555. Hopefully he gets that. We're at 15%. We've got 18.6 miles, holding 36 miles per hour. All right, guys, we just hit 10%. We've been sitting at about 23 miles per hour for about 4% and just puttering along.
Okay, next quick update. We are at 15% battery and we are seeing the speed go down all of a sudden. As soon as we hit 15, we are now only doing 23 miles an hour instead of 26.5. So we dropped quite a bit. All of a sudden we're at 39.8 miles, so just about 40, hour and 31 minutes. So I already know this, but the sport mode range test yesterday, the bike died at 6%. So it cut out on Alex and he had to stop. He turned it off and back on to see if we could get it down a little bit further. Again, it cut out after about 100 feet is all and was still at 6%. So I think that's what this bike dies at. It still stays on, but it won't really let you go. So we'll see if we can make it to 6 on this, see how far we get.
So far we've been going for about 35 minutes and have gone 21 miles. So we were able to break into that 20 miles range, but going this slow kind of feels a little bit like cheating, to where we're gonna squeeze out a little bit more range because we're not going as fast.
Okay guys, we're at 11%. We're still doing about 22 miles an hour. We've done 41 miles. This is as fast as it'll go. I can click it into sport and it doesn't go any faster. So just keep in mind that like a Talaria Sting R or a Talaria XXX can still go about 40 miles an hour when the battery is at 10%. So pretty crazy. So Reed still has more battery, so he's gonna take off and we'll catch up with him in a minute. I'm just gonna keep going until the bike shuts off, till it dies, and then we'll go figure out how far he made it. He's gonna kind of keep going a similar speed to about 25 miles an hour, and we're probably gonna keep slowing down.
We're still at 8%, going 23 miles an hour. We've gone 22 miles, so that's pretty dang good, and have been going for about 36 minutes. Oh, just lost power. The bike won't go, I'm at 6%. I'm just gonna let it coast to a stop. I think that's gonna do it for our range test. Okay guys, that's gonna call it for the sport mode range test. Bike is sitting at 6%. It just won't go anymore. Okay guys, it's official. That's gonna call it for the sport mode range test. We got 23 miles and we were riding for 37 minutes. That is the farthest that we've seen on a sport mode range test, but there's something you need to keep in mind. There was a lot of battery sag and loss of top speed in the last 30% of the power. We'll go more in depth than that at the end of the video, but that is a very impressive sport mode range.
All right, you guys, I just died at 7%. It actually said 8% and then ticked right to 7 right when my throttle cut out. So I think that's it for us. Yeah, I can't go anymore. I think if I turn the bike on or off, it might give me a little more, but that's all, folks. And it's beeping. We're gonna wait for Alex to catch up with us. We'll talk about how we did, and then Reed kept going, so. All right, guys, we are dead on the E-Ride Pro SS in the Eco Mode test. We died at 7% battery, and we went 43 miles on the dot, and we're riding for an hour and 40 minutes. So our average speed was about 26 all the way down to 15% battery. Then we went to a speed of about 21 miles an hour. Then after that, we slowly started to go down a little bit more and more. As you guys saw, Reed kept riding on his slightly larger capacity battery. So we're gonna go find him and figure out how far he went, and then we'll go over all the specs of the video and compare it to all the other bikes. All right, we just caught up to Reed. Let's go see how far he made it. Well, Reed seemed to go quite a bit further. Let's see what he did.
I went 49 miles.
There it is, 49.1 miles. Okay, that's quite a bit further.
That's pretty good.
That is 6 miles further than the E-Ride Pro SS. Okay, the E-Ride Pro range test is done. We're gonna head back to the house, gather up all the info, all the stats, and lay it out in a nice spreadsheet for you, a nice chart to compare all the different bikes, and we'll talk about a few things at that point. Okay, we're back from the Pro SS range test. We did eco mode, sport mode. Let's go over how the bike did and then compare it to all the other models we've done this exact test on. So this bike in the sport mode test did 23.5 miles. At 50 miles an hour, we held as long as we could, and then when the battery hit about 30%, it dropped to about 38 miles per hour speed. When it hit about 20% battery left, it dropped to the low 20 miles an hour speed, and it held that pretty consistently all the way until it died at 6%. In the eco mode test, we held 26.5 miles an hour, which is full speed eco mode, and we went all the way to 43 miles. At 15% battery is when we started to notice a speed decrease. The whole time throughout the first part of the battery, we continued to go 26. At 15%, we went down to 22 miles an hour and held that pretty consistently all the way till it died at 7% battery this time. So the bike stays on when it dies, but the throttle won't let you go anymore. It basically is dead in the water. On the sport mode test, we did try, since it didn't die at like 2% or 0%, we actually turned the bike off, turned it back on just to see if we would be able to get some more. But again, we only got about 100 feet before it cut out again and shut off. So that's how this bike did. Now let's talk about how it compares to the other models. Now, in our opinion, this bike did not do as well as we expected it to do. This has a 72 volt, 40 amp hour battery, which is inside charging. That's why it's an empty hole there. But this is a larger capacity battery than any other small e-bike we've tested, and it just didn't do quite as good as we expected. So we're gonna throw the chart up here that will show all the models we've tested, how they compare, and also the basic average speed that the bike was held at for each mode, so that you can kind of compare, because they're not exact, but they're about as close as we could make it. Now I will add, this bike went the furthest in sport mode of any bike we have tested. However, it was going slower by the time the average speeds averaged out. Like I said in the eco mode test, a Talaria will hold 40 miles an hour all the way down till like 5% battery. So significantly longer than this bike will hold it. And so this bike was doing 50 for a long time, then it was doing 38, then it was doing 20, and so the average speed just decreased quite a bit over the drain of the battery. Whereas a Talaria is way more consistent all the way down and then dies at 2% instead of 7%. So keep that in mind when you're comparing this. This did go further in sport, but at a slower speed. Now let's talk about our upgraded Charge CycleWorks 72 volt 42 amp hour battery. So this is 2 amp hours larger than this one, so it has just a little bit more capacity. Now this bike has a nuclear controller on it to be able to run 72 volt. We ran it just behind this bike until this bike died, and then we kept going. This bike did 49 miles versus this bike doing 43. So this did 6 miles further. This bike still did less range than we were expecting. I honestly think the cold is playing a bigger part than maybe we were expecting. And like I talked about on camera while I was riding, we did the best that we could to make this as fair as if we were doing it in a summer test. All the batteries started at room temperature, 70 degrees. They were inside the house getting warm all night, and then they stayed in the truck until we literally started the range test. So the battery started warm. When you use a battery, it warms up. So I think it was still pretty fair, but I think the cold, I think we do have to consider that the cold dropped a couple of miles on each of these bikes. Maybe not in sport mode as much as eco mode being out for such a long time in the cold. Well guys, that's pretty much gonna wrap up our range test video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that subscribe button. We're out here testing all these bikes for you guys. I think the E-Ride Pro still did an excellent job with the range. Not quite as good as we expected, but it still has good range. We expect big things from E-Ride Pro. We've been excited to work with them. More videos to come. If you guys have any questions about this video or future ones, drop us a comment. We'll be sure to answer. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next video. See ya.